Welcome everybody to Soccerwise Live. That's a real crowd. That's not a laugh track or a crowd track, whatever it is. We are at the Starting 11 studio in Venice Beach. It is extremely cloudy out because LA has the worst weather on the planet, best coast, west coast. David Gass and Tom Bogert here. Thank you to Eric Gonzalez, the legend, for hosting us. Tom's the only one who's going to clap for that. Okay.
A man of the people.
A man of the people. And we are here for MLS Cup. It is the big week we've all been waiting for. We now have to do a live show in front of people, which is making me extremely uncomfortable. And we've got a couple of beers. For anyone who's not watching on YouTube and listening to the podcast, thank you. You can go subscribe to our YouTube, subscribe to our Patreon, and that gets you a bunch of stuff, which I've said a million times. And Charlie Cheesesteak over here staring at me about saying more stuff about the Patreon.
Did you feel like you needed to disclose that there was 3 sips of one beer out here for the audio audience?
Yeah. Tom, how many do you have on the other side of you that I can't see right now?
No. We're good. We're good.
You're not storing more. We've got a special guest here. Emmy is going to come and co-host with us a little bit, rocking the Angel City shirt. We do have the Wednesday NWSL show that she's feel free to let her host if she wants to. I'm getting a little bit of recognition, but not a ton, so I'll take that. And we're going to talk MLS here, obviously. MLS Cup, you got here on Wednesday. I got here late last night.
Why was that, Goss? What were you doing before that? Why did you change your flight?
I was flying out of Miami, which is obviously the cultural capital of the world, as many people know. I would argue it's the best city in the world, but I wouldn't argue very strong for that. And a friend of mine asked me to do him a favor, so I just hung out and helped out with.
Who's the friend?
We'll go unnamed. I don't know that I'm allowed to say because I don't know that the content's out there yet. But I hung out with a buddy of mine, Michael Phelps. I met up with.
I won't say the name. Bang,
yeah.
Michael Phelps.
I met up with Dwayne Wade because we haven't talked in a while. You know, the statue thing. I did this, he did that, and we both got statues outside the arena, so it was weird.
The funny part is this sounds like a bit, all this is true other than friendship stuff, but all this is true. It's incredible. You dropped this in the group chat one day because you were like, oh yeah, I'm actually going to be there a little later. And I just thought it was a joke. And then I was like, no, but seriously, what time are you getting there? He goes, dude, I just told you. I thought you were kidding. I thought that was a Mad Lib.
No, I had to go golf with DJ Khaled. I went to his celebrity golf tournament or his charity golf. I don't know what we call ourselves at this point.
He rolled real quick on the NDA in about 15 seconds here.
And it was a consent form as it was explained to me. And then we were given wristbands and I was like, my color looks different. Are you guys going to hunt me later? And no one answered that question, to be clear. So I still don't know what the consent was for. But I went to help someone out and got to chat with a couple big-time celebrities. I got some breaking news in there for you, too.
What you got?
I got some scoops.
What you got?
Have you heard of Vinicius?
I have heard of Vinicius.
Not coming to MLS.
Not yet.
But this is my scoop. He is not coming to Major League Soccer. I'm saying it right now officially from a source. The source doesn't matter. So yeah, that's why I came late, which meant you got to take the bulk of media day for me.
Yes.
Which I appreciate. And then I ballooned in today as a big deal onto the Banks of Dignity Health Sports Park. If anyone calls it Home Depot in this studio, I'm going to lose it because I will get it wrong every time if you do it from there on out. And I hung out, but you got to do all of media day. We got to talk to the coaches, which is awesome. I think you did a Spanish interview with Will Kuntz, right?
No, I don't speak Spanish.
Oh, he does.
He does.
I thought you did it as well.
No, I'm a gringo.
He did a fantastic job there. And of course, we've got the game coming up tomorrow. So we are very excited. We'll do a recap show on Monday. We're going to splice it around the 500 scoops you're going to have for the, what is it, a half-day trade window?
Yes, it is.
Your MLS Cup is what you're saying.
I honest to God, I was checking my flight. I was this is Monday, not Sunday, right? I need to fly back Sunday, so I'm
it's the biggest day of your year.
After spending $32 on plane Wi-Fi for American Airlines, really unhappy about that because I have a personal rule. I will not get in-flight Wi-Fi because
so that you turn off.
I want just blissful, a few hours of just not being able to be reached. Probably play Football Manager, watch a show, do something. Who cares? Just nobody can text me, nobody call me.
Yeah.
But I had several pieces of news that I was in the airport. I was like, man, I don't think I'm going to get this over the line before I get on the plane.
Oof.
And then because I'm an addict with reporting this news.
Yeah.
I was like, I could just wait.
You just love ice cream.
I don't think that anybody's going to have this. And then I would have been sitting there rocking back and forth the Philadelphia Union manager is close and the Philadelphia Union manager is close. So I had to avoid. It was just lose. That's bad on me. Should have gone to the airport earlier. But I will say the Philadelphia Union U18s were flying out for a U tournament. They were near me. First of all, they were really well behaved. I would not have been at 16, 17. I was
Scoops.
with their boys. That was pretty cool. And then I was talking, like, so I dropped like the Philly news on the plane. And, like, after the flight, like I was talking to one of the coaches. He was like, "What the hell, dude? Like, we're gonna get blamed for this. We don't even know." Right. It's like, what? Now they're gonna know we're on the same flight.
Everyone knows the U18s are the ones who have all the information. Do you have any other scoops you want to drop right now before we dig in?
No, let me check my phone. Nothing yet.
Okay,
Nothing
cool.
yet. Nothing yet.
We'll wait for you to get up and walk away and do that. Let's start with LA. Because I walked into Dignity Health today and was like, oh, right, this is like the home of MLS Cup. It hosted MLS Cup for a number of years as a neutral site. Obviously, the last time the Red Bulls played in 2008. Galaxy were not in that game. It was the only soccer-specific stadium that you knew you could potentially sell out and have a game in. And so walking in there today, I thought was really cool and reminded me a lot of that. Talked to some people. There are people who were here before us, you know, who always come to then the press conference and get honored. Shout out to Michael Lewis, who got his shout out.
Legend, absolute legend.
From Don Garber at the, what is it, the State of the League?
Yeah, State of the League.
And then, but being in the building, you start to feel like the history of that the league was built on having finally a soccer-specific stadium, having a market that matters. And now it's kind of coming back to that. And it's pretty cool that the Red Bulls and LA Galaxy here. That's why I'm wearing my Made in the 90s hat, by the way. If you're watching on video, you can see it because this MLS Cup was made in the 90s. And it's going to be, I think it's going to bump for the game. Like, I forgot being there that while it's not the flashy, special new buildings, every LA Galaxy game with a good crowd has a good atmosphere.
I have a confession to make, Gass.
One of many, I hope.
Hopefully, I wouldn't hope many. I had never been to Dignity Health Sports Park. I'd never been to the old Home Depot Center. I hadn't been here because when I was breaking through and starting to travel more,
they haven't been good.
The Galaxy haven't been good.
Yeah.
And so it was funny. I'm like talking to people. They're like, "Wait a minute, you haven't been here?" Because you just assume this is a place for big games. This is a place for big teams and trophies and everything else that goes with the LA Galaxy history. It's like, wait a minute, you've never been here? So that was pretty cool for me because, like, you've seen the highlights, like the Beckham stuff, the Beckham era. I was like a little younger to be like really locked in kind of thing for that. But when they beat Seattle in the Western Conference Final last weekend, this place was jumping off the screen. Like, that was the first time in a long time I was even watching on TV being like, oh yeah, like we're used to now LAFC, Atlanta, all these Cincy, Columbus, all these places with like great atmospheres and big games in recent years. It's like, oh yeah, this was like the OG, this is a big deal game. So I'm really excited to get to experience that for the final Saturday. And it was really cool to be there. It's just, the stadium feels like LA, right? It just feels like, I like when the stadium matches the palm trees in the back, all that stuff. So it's really cool to be there. Take a look at some of the statues. There's no David Goss statue, but there is the Landon Donovan, David Beckham. So it was nice to be there.
I was waiting for my credential to get printed. I asked about it and they were like, oh, the statue's coming. Straight up someone said that to me. So I'm going to assume that that's real.
Are they going to do you like D-Wade, like your boy D-Wade?
Maybe, potentially. I would be okay with that. I don't, honestly, if you did a weird artistic version of me, it might be better than the real version. So I wouldn't complain too much about that. The biggest game I've ever been here, I'm pretty sure, was the predecessor to Leagues Cup, the fake Leagues Cup, 2019. LA Galaxy beat Tijuana in the opening round of that, and they sent me here to cover it. And afterwards, the Galaxy were like, do we play again? I was like, yeah, I think it's a tournament. And they're like, no one told us any details, but they'd won like 5K
This is football
each.
heritage.
And so that's the only time I've ever been in Dignity Health for anything bigger than like a regular season game. So I'm pretty excited as well. Noah Eiley stopped me to ask if this was the one Zlatan had scored the goal in. Because he's very Swedish.
You went over that like a speed bump that you were trying to get through. You were tased in the middle of saying Noah Eiley.
No, well, so last week, last week I interviewed him and I brought him on. I was like, I'm going to say your name, Noah Eiley. Is that okay? And he goes, yeah, that's really good. I go, really? You say it. And he said something completely different. And I was like, oh, I could do that. And then as I went to do it, I freaked out in my head and I ruined it. And then so now I'm trying to find
You guys all heard that. You had zero confidence when you was getting to the name. I get it too. I go back and forth with Eiley, and like I get in my head about it too.
I think
and you just started to say the Red Bulls young Swedish center back. He's really good.
Yeah. Like I call him Ricky all the time. So that I don't even have to get into the last name, which obviously is injured and we won't have to talk about as well. But he was like, is this where Zlatan scored the volley? And I was like, yeah, it was right there. And he was like, this is so cool. And like the building has that history, has the statues. And now they're going to get a chance 10 years later for LA Galaxy to try and win MLS Cup. and the Red Bulls are going to try and do it for the first time ever. There are some Red Bull fans in the building.
Specifically MetroStar fans.
Yes,
I think that's a specific qualifier.
Yeah, I haven't seen a Red Bull jersey yet. I've only seen MetroStars. So if that makes everyone feel how legitimate
God,
it is.
I wish that they would lean in and release a new like retro kit. But like they don't want to look at that history because they didn't own the team.
Here's the thing. Shovel went in the ground yesterday for an NYCFC stadium.
They did.
I think I'm just making stuff up off the top of my head now. I think we're not that far from at least the New Jersey Red Bulls, like taking the New York Barn.
Don't you dare tease me with that. But they would.
I'm just saying.
It never happened. I don't need any inside sourcing. The teams go away from using the New Jersey moniker. That's why we're white knuckle holding on to the New Jersey Devils. They
You
would
know
never
how you
leave.
get back?
How?
You get the Daniel Edelmans and the Peter Strouds and your goddamn John Tolkiens of the world winning MLS Cups. That's how you get it to be New Jersey once again. PDA legendary players that are getting ready for this. All right, let's talk Media Day. Because I was not there, you were there. It's a good chance to like meet a lot of these players, be around them. It's a big week for them.
Yeah.
What stood out? What do you remember?
Yeah, it was really good. So in the past, they've done it where it's, one player will come in and like you're all focused on that. But this year they did it like NFL style, where they just had several booths. And so they'd bring in 3 players at once. And so I thought that was cool, just that you could get more players and you could talk to more. But like as like a polite person in these scenarios, I feel bad walking away from talking to somebody. Be like, I do care what you have to say, I promise, but I need to go get a meal Forsberg now. That happened. I think John McCarthy will be able to laugh about it, so I'm going to use his name. Shout out to John McCarthy first and foremost. But he was one of 3 Galaxy players who came out. I started with him because like I was very interested. This is his 3rd MLS Cup in a row. He's a really awesome story. He's a really awesome guy. Yeah, right? Like he's came off the bench to win 2022 MLS Cup MVP. I say all of that to say, I asked him a few questions. There was like 1 or 2 people. And then everybody had left for the other booths. I was one included. I felt really bad about it. But I was like, I need to get the Joseph Painso quote. Joseph Painso was a star of Media Day. And John was answering everything, really good answers too, stuff. Sat there, and then people walked away, and he goes, okay, is that it? All right, cool. That's cool. Like, whatever. And he starts to get up, and like a PR person had to be like, I'm sorry, John. You have to like, because somebody might come up.
Yeah.
And then I heard that. I heard that, and I walked back over. I didn't have anything else to ask him. I was like, I'm going to think of something because
John, what's
I
your
feel
favorite
bad.
Wawa sandwich? That's obviously the first question.
No. But so that was really cool. Joseph Painter was a star. John Tolkien was a star. Andrew Wiebe, our good pal, was doing a couple bits.
He's not here.
Go check out.
So good pal is a debatable term.
Go check out his videos.
Joe Lowry's here. Those are real friends. Shout out Joe.
But like, yeah, I mean, obviously there was like, that was the fun, like, there were serious questions, but there were also the lighthearted ones that like, you could see the guy's personality. Sandro Schwartz, like you saw his personality more and more. Like I'd gotten a little bit from like, doing the press conference and stuff. It's like, oh, this guy might be low-key funny.
Yeah.
Like he's low-key funny, man. Like, so it's like cool to like watch those people. And like Joseph Painso was the biggest example for most people of like, this guy's got an awesome personality. He's super fun. So that's what Media Day was more rather than growing them. Like, Marco Royce, are you going to be fit Saturday?
Right.
Like, what is the tactical breakdown except for our good friend Joe Lowry was asking wonderful tactical questions. But so it was like, Joseph Painso, are you going to play your music video in the locker room if you win? And then Joe is asking him questions about, what happens if the back line comes forward? Will you, fake a run inside and then go around and stuff? And really good answers.
Is he going to play a song?
He was smiling and laughing. He said, "Yo, they play it for me. They like it. Like that's good teammates, and that's how you know it's a good song."
That's OMG level. That's Jose Iglesias right there. That's how teams win championships, or at least get to finals, is by having. You have to have a singer. If someone doesn't have a single that came out
or you
that
have to
year,
have Grimace, apparently. It's the
which is debated. That's like a really good tactic to have Grimace on your team.
Yeah, now you guys have a seat immortalized in the stadium for one time you guys made the wild card. So that's
Who's
pretty cool.
you guys?
The Mets.
Yeah. Who are you attacking right
You!
now? Who are you being in this? Are you the Yankees
Making
in this?
fun of you. Yeah, I'm not.
So you don't have a team, but
I
you're
did,
gonna
but
come
like
after mine.
I am a Yankees fan, but I don't watch enough to say that. So I don't live and die with it, but I can make fun of you for it.
Okay, cool. You can make fun of the person who does die all the time for it.
You guys rip me for everything.
Yeah, that's fair. The Painstill, I was told, like when he first came here, it was like, oh, he's a little bit quiet, and when he breaks out, like he's the funniest guy in the locker room, and everyone loves him, and it feels like he's in a really comfortable spot right now, which is interesting because between him and Pac, this game's falling on their shoulders. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Like, well, Ricky's the face of the whole thing, and he's not going to be there. And it was interesting, I think, for me to see them, how comfortable the Galaxy have looked so far this week, knowing their favorites, knowing the pressure that's there.
Yeah.
And it felt like you saw it again yesterday.
Yeah, for sure. And like you said, Paintsville and Peck know that a lot more is going to fall on them just in terms of like the buildup. Obviously, Marco Royce as well. The news is that he says he's fit. Greg Vanney says he's fit. We'll see if he starts. I'd assume that he will. And there's going to be a lot to fall to him. But like this team, if there's any team in the league that can actually deal with an MVP candidate being injured, it's this one. Like Diego Fagundes, like he can carry like the build out. Like he can. And he's like a luxury player for them. Like we were talking about the starting lineup. Like can you play Royce and Pooch at the same time? It's like that's not a question for any other team. It's like, yeah, no, we have Marco Royce, he's starting.
Yeah.
Like so if there's any team and so those guys felt it. And like what was cool too is like how genuine, like obviously the Galaxy players are like, sucks for Ricky. Like we wish, all this, we want to win it for him, all that stuff. And I know that the Red Bulls players, it's not like they could say, oh, we have a better chance of winning or whatever, but like it was genuine and it was effusive of, look, man, this sucks for Ricky. Like we wish that he was out here too, because like they can also imagine themselves, what if I tore my ACL the week before the final? So I thought that was pretty cool, just like the respect between the teams. And Ricky was at the facility today. He was at like training, walking around, smiling, laughing. He was with the guys. Like that was also cool to see. Like I know he's got to be devastated. Yeah. He is devastated, but he's still there, like rallying them with the morale and laughing and smiling, walking around without crutches, which is very impressive. Like this guy's a physical specimen, apparently. So
he's gonna be playing in 3 weeks,
dude. Right? Like we were having the discussion about like season-ending injured list for next year.
Yeah.
Guy's gonna be back for preseason.
He unfortunately, Jordan walked me through ACL tears the other day. She's a bit of an expert, so we got more info about that, but we'll talk about that as the season goes along. On the Red Bull side, I joked about John Tolkien and Edelman, but like they're the Jersey guys just hanging out. They're just like doing their own thing.
They look like all of my friends growing up. I'm like struggling to be like, I'm asking them questions like it's normal, and then I'm talking like this, like I'm talking to you, or like talking to one of my boys, like, oh, what's up, dude? And I'm like,
you guys going up the shore? When are you guys leaving?
Yeah, right. Like, oh man. So that warms my heart, but that is super specific. But there's a lot of Jersey energy out here.
There's a lot.
Don't you forget it.
No,
you forget.
I was in the media room, and it's like all the reporters obviously coming to cover it, but then you've got like a lot of people have come out of that area and now have gone around the league and stuff. That
you're goddamn right.
Even in LA,
yeah, you're goddamn right.
And they're all here. Shout out to Andrew, who's an LA native and now a Metro Stars Portland. Whoa, Portland Hearts of Pine. Is that the team name? Yes. Sorry for everyone who's not watching and can't see.
Theater of the mind. Theater of the mind. Google.com.
I was going to throw out, so then I got there today and the players come out and do a little bit of media while they're quote unquote training, which is all fake training that they don't really let you see. Although Marco Royce was fully out there.
Yep.
Jalen Neal spoke during that.
Did he?
One super impressive. And it was cool to hear him talk about LA and what it means. And as a Galaxy guy, like LAFC not mattering and all of that. And we'll talk about that coming up. And then Cameron Harper is from here. And then has left and now come back. And he talked about coming and watching games here as a kid. And he named like, Beckham and Keane and Donovan. You're like, okay. And then he said Juninho. And I was like, all right, now I have a little bit of juice for this. Like, that's at least the name. I would love a Tom Donovan shout at some point. Tommy Meyer, maybe. Didn't get there, but we were close. And I was pretty hyped about it. And I was pretty impressed. And he sort of touched on one thing that everyone talked about, but Sandro Schwartz went into the deepest, which is, he's like, we've never called ourselves an underdog the entire run. He's like, Bradley Wright Phillips wrote an article.
And then he said, thank you.
He goes, thanks, I guess. Like, I guess I didn't have to say it. It's not my problem. But they've never considered themselves that, even with the run they've gone on and the teams they've had to play. And I think you could feel it once again in talking to them this week. They're like, yeah, we're on the road, but we're good.
So I don't know if Lewis Morgan is a listener or friend of the show. I'm going to call him a friend of the show because I think
I called him an MVP 2 years ago.
That's also, he has to be. So you were doing the analysis of like, yeah, I get it. You're going to do the nobody believes in us, but like, obviously it's not like this fell out of the sky. Lewis Morgan essentially said
Thank
that.
you, Lewis
I like asked him about it and he goes, yeah, some teams will say that, we block out all the noise. We don't listen to anything. We don't read anything. He goes, it's all lies, bro. He's like, everybody sees everything, right? And then he goes, yeah, we were the underdog because we weren't very good. It's like that was the reason why. And he goes, yeah, we looked ourselves in the mirror. We were humble, all that, whatever. But he goes, yeah, like I would have called, we were underdogs because we weren't very good.
One, it's hilarious when people who are first year in MLS, almost always their answer is, well, I'm not from here, so I don't follow anyone, so I don't know what they're talking about. They're always like, oh, I'm from a different country, so I don't listen to people. The other thing that you okay, Tom?
Yeah, I'm good.
Oh, you were giving me looks.
I didn't give you. I was looking the other way. This is what I was looking
Oh,
for.
you were waiting for your next.
I didn't
beer.
even have to say anything.
I was like, what's happening?
It's a magic trick.
The other thing on the like no one believes in us thing, and Cameron Harper brought it up as simply as you can say it, which is they're all just years older. He's like, myself, John Tolkien, Sean Nealis, we all played and lost in these playoffs 2 years ago and a year ago. And like, we are closer to being in our prime and we've learned from those experiences. And I think that was a fair statement of just like, what's the half reasons that this Red Bull team is going ahead in games instead of trailing. And like, we are talking about razor thin margins in a lot of this run and a lot of this performance. And I think he was sort of saying we've learned. And so some of those razor thin margins are coming from the fact that we know what we're doing now and we're like ready for this moment.
Yeah, I agree with that. The cynical part of my brain wants to say that like, did Carlos Cornell learn how to be world class? Like there's, like you said, it's fine margins, but like sometimes I think we play the result. Like, I think that this team is better than previous years. And I think that what they're showing obviously in the playoffs is that they were much more like the first half of the season when they had most of their players, Emil Forsberg, available versus the second half of the season when they didn't. So that's kind of what it comes down to. It's like, that's experience, or like that's also John Tolkien putting in an incredible free kick for Andres Reyes at home, or again, all the Cornell saves, or Dante Van Zee, or finishing chances that maybe he wasn't during the regular season. So I think that there's part of it, but for me, like it's just some of this is random, and all you can do is buy enough tickets for the lottery, do everything you can to put yourself in the best position, and then sometimes fate takes it away.
Bro, 14 years of lotteries for the New York
That's
Red
what I'm
Bulls.
saying. Like the law of averages, they should have won something or been to the final again by now. Like it's almost harder to be in the playoffs 14 years in a row, not get to the final, than
that's so Metro.
Yeah, that's so Metro.
Which may be dead. I've been told it might die tomorrow. That's the potential. That would be wild. So we have to talk about that. Before we get there, one of the things that stood out to me about that I heard, and Sandro Schwartz, you mentioned, he's like a character. He's hilarious. Rolls into the press conference with a Red Bull in hand, immediately places it in front of the body armors and Aquafina, Dasani waters, whatever, that are placed there for, and he goes,
that was so good.
He goes, Red Bull, by the way, I don't know if you all noticed. And you're like, nice, dude. You just got yourself a lifetime supply of Red Bull in a fridge somewhere. And he's like hilarious. The whole time he's joking around. He was asked about playoffs, and he went on a whole thing about how he doesn't really totally believe in playoffs in 34 weeks, but then he's like, but playoffs are the best, because otherwise we wouldn't be here. And you're like, respect Sandro Schwartz. He unprompted brought up, the 5-1 loss to NYCFC multiple times in answers that weren't about that. Like the questions weren't about that. Clearly a rallying point for him and the club of like a low bottom point. That was early September. It was like the first week of September, where I think for them, they looked at themselves and they decided that they were better than this, that they needed to turn things around. I thought that was really interesting. He also brought up Columbus a lot, unprompted, and it felt like he brought up Columbus in a way in which it was like, they've shifted tactically a little. They're a bit more direct. They're playing at this high level. They're playing for each other, almost in a way of being like, well, Columbus forced us to do that, and like, what else were we going to do? And it's cool because it was we thought it was the worst possible matchup. I think both of us gave them no chance of getting a result there, and then it has flipped to like, it was actually the perfect start for them. And I think he kept bringing it up in the context of the Galaxy are as close to Columbus as any other team in MLS. And like, they're going to have to lean on that experience.
Yeah. And so that's another thing too, that like the narratives that you can build from this game, both in terms of like off the field stuff or the tactical stuff, they're obvious, even without Ricky Pooch, and even with, any nuances that can come and will come. The basics are there. It's an incredible attack that wants to dominate possession and play, as you said, similarly to the Columbus Crew. And then it's the Red Bulls who, again, they know their identity. They talked a lot about the tactical shift. Again, I joked about Joe asking, like, Joe elicited a lot of really good responses from the players from Sandro about, dropping deeper rather than pressing higher. And why and like even Sandro's, that's a very good question. Like, and like Lewis Morgan was telling me that part of it was it's more defined defensively off the ball. Yeah. That we kind of go man to man, so we understand our roles and where. And it's like, if they build out like this, then like what the little nuances. But it's like we generally really know it. And then he like laughs. He goes like, yeah, I mean, it's more running, and I'm more tired when I get on the ball. But like we want to win, and like again, the cliche that again I think is real. Lewis Morgan, like he got asked a question about, do you care about goals or something? I think that they were trying to team up to say, oh, I only care if we win or whatever, right? And he goes, no, I care a lot if I score. he goes, that's because I think that's the best way I can help my team win. He goes, if you tell me right now I'm going to score tomorrow and we're going to lose, or I'm going to be the worst player on the field and we win, obviously I'm taking the latter, right? And he goes, but obviously I've got the scenario in my mind that I'm going to score the game-winning goal and go celebrate with the fans, right? That's all real and that's all cool. So I don't know. It comes down to the basics of a team who wants to dominate the ball and a team that's comfortable without the ball. John Tolkien used that word. We can control the game without the ball, and we're happy to do it. And a couple other good quotes that he had was, he's like, Gabriel Peck, he's a baller. He was like, a baller, man. And then he goes, we respect him. I want to kick the shit out of them. And that's real. And I heard that, so Sandro Schwartz wasn't there. Somebody told Sandro, I tweeted the quote, oh, look, and he goes, oh, I guess he's got to kick the shit out of him now.
So. He's already committed publicly, so he has to be a part of that. So. This Red Bull team, I think, the one big question mark with them is Felipe Carbajo. Will he be healthy? Will he be available? I think we both got the read that he won't be. They didn't say that, but it was a lot of he did individual work most of the week. We're going to see late, it was very convenient for Sandro that the last training was after the press conference, so he can do the whole I haven't seen him yet. I don't know. It feels unlikely from that point of view. He talked about then Peter Stroud, what he brings differently, and it's, I think, what we see, right? Carbajo, cleaner on the ball.
It's kicking the shit out of people.
More of a safety valve, but Stroud is going to run through a wall, and he's going to run through players. Yeah. And I think, actually, from my point of view, it's not a bad setup for this game. Obviously, no Ricky Puig, so that changes things, but it doesn't matter that this Galaxy team is going to try and dominate the ball. You know their threats out on the wings. Can you physically dominate central midfield? It's going to be a key for the Red Bulls. They're going to have to do it. They're not going to dominate possession in there, but can they keep the Galaxy at least isolated to one part of the field? I think Stroud's not a bad addition in that spot, and he's got the energy which Sandro talked about of he'll then make that run out of midfield. And if the ball is able to get Lewis Morgan in transition, who's a secondary runner? Because that's where the Galaxy really struggle. Is they're not organized in rest defense, that initial break, but then still trying to clean up. And that could be a way for Red Bulls to break through.
Yeah, I mean, Garces has been phenomenal in that. Again, I know that I'm just repeating some of the stuff I said on the last show, but Will Kuntz was saying it to me, they had data, he was the fastest defender in Colombia. Or that's what we've seen. And he's he was a little raw, it took him a little bit to adapt, but he's awesome, right? And so that has been a demarcation that we overlooked in real time because you never know. And that's unfair to also put on a player like that. That's not a big time signing. That's he wasn't even necessarily brought in to definitely start. We thought Jay Neal would be starting, or maybe Martin Castros before he got hurt. So that it was difficult to see in real time that that's going to solve a lot of their transition defense issues. And again, with what Cerrillo's doing in the midfield. But so your wording of secondary runners, I think, is now even more important because of what Garces can do. If, ball turns over and you want to play one in behind, he's sweeping those up really, really well.
The first one,
So, and I think that's going to be really important for Emil Forsberg is against Orlando, he was really smart in the spaces he was picking up the ball, particularly after they took the lead. And that intelligence, that knowledge, and that okay, I'm going to see Morgan running forward or Van Zier running, whoever runs first. I'm going to hold it. Garces shades that way, and then you hit the other runner, or you hit Cam Harper coming down the wing on the other side. So that's where I'm looking for Emil Forsberg to make a difference, again, in addition to if he gets the ball in the final third. But I just think that little bit of experience, that little bit of intelligence to maybe let a decoy runner go and maybe not play that first ball direct, maybe wait a little bit. So I think it's going to be fascinating.
It's going to be really interesting. The other side for the Galaxy, you said it. It sounds like Marco Reus will be healthy.
Yes. They said Marco on...
Whoa, don't make me believe someone.
Well, he said Thursday, yes, I will be. And then Greg Vanney said Friday, unless he comes in here and tells me something that he turned his ankle when he was walking in, yes, he's available.
I cannot wait to the post-game press conference where Greg Vanney goes, yeah, he turned his ankle walking back
Fair
in.
enough.
And I just didn't know.
Fair
You're
enough.
buying me a taco if that's the case.
Okay, again?
Yeah, exactly. I want more tacos. So if Roy starts, who starts next to him? Or what do you think's the setup? What's your question marks?
Man, so that is a question mark. So do you go with Diego Fagundes to try to do more going forward in the build-up? Or you go with Mark Delgado, who can still do that, doesn't have the same attacking outlet as Fagundes does, but he balances the team more. I would lean Fagundes because that's what this team has done. They've been playing Pooch and Royce.
Yeah.
And Fagundes does more against the ball. Again, he's not exactly the ground cover that Mark Delgado is. But he does plenty that I don't think that they'll be worried in that central midfield area, the same way that again, for everything that Ricky Pooch does amazing.
Yeah.
Like that's like, okay, maybe if we get a turnover, then he'll alleviate space. So for me, it's I would go Fagundes, but like I don't feel strongly about it. I think that both options are great.
Yeah.
And as long as Marco Royce, you are confident that he can play at least 60 minutes, because then like the other side of me is like, it'd also be cool to bring him off the bench at say 45th minute, and if you're worried about extra time and stuff, right?
Yeah.
But I would start with Royce, start with Fagundes, and go from there.
I think Vanny will start him even if it's 45 minutes because set the tone in the championship, all of that, right? If you can get the lead with him, then you don't worry about it as much. Plus, if you start him with Fagundes, then you're bringing Delgado in with a lead, which is the ideal scenario.
Right.
I also think there's like some level of who are the leaders in this grouut. Without Ricky, like who's going to sort of carry you?
That's interesting.
And I think Royce sits in that spot. I think it'll be Fagundes as well. Quite honestly, I've never asked a coach about Diego Fagundes before. Vanny
How did it feel?
I didn't ask the question, to be clear. Felt great.
Was that Joe too?
Maybe. But he heavily talked about Fagundes' tactical.
Did your stomach hurt? Was that what that was?
Potentially, yeah. It's those tacos. It's on you. So that's why you owe me more.
It'd be great if the mic didn't pick up any of that.
Eric's trying to tell us.
Okay, there's a jackhammer outside that sounded like a stomach issue. That now it's gonna be.
Dude, it's just chill LA vibes, bro.
It's
like it's the marine layer. It's the marine layer, dude. It's like not even a big deal.
You wouldn't get it, bro.
It's an earthquake. If we're being honest.
Tsunami.
Which I was told we're only in Northern California, which is a lie. There's no way that's true. But
do your own research, dude.
The last thing with this setup with this team. So Greg Vanny was saying Fagundes, he's been impressed by how tactically flexible he is, how quickly he picks things up, and his ability to flex in and out of it. And so I think that's really a key thing here, which is Marco Royce doesn't play anything like Ricky Pooch.
No.
He might be able to this week because he can do that in his life. He just hasn't had to.
Yeah.
But if he doesn't, I think you want someone like Fagundes who can play both roles, which is
agree.
oh, Royce is going and finding the ball. Let me stay high. Oh, Royce actually wants to sit a little bit deeper and be in possession. All right, I'll push a little higher. I'll be that guy who swaps out with Peck or whatever it is. So I think that's all going to be really big. I'm excited to watch Peck and Payne still in this. I'm excited to see, like, can these guys who we think are elite elevate to this moment? You want to see the best players in the biggest stage.
And like, so again, I preface this because I'm the person who owns it, and I feel very strongly about the take. Shut up, you dork. Stop talking about what Ricky Pooch can't do and focus on what he can do because he's so special. And I want Ricky Pooch on the ball as much as possible. That being said, one of my least favorite Ricky-isms is if a pass goes to anybody else that isn't Ricky Pooch, he turns and yells.
Right.
So I want to see, does Gabriel Peck pick up the ball more between the lines? Does Gabriel Peck do more creating rather than I want to run it behind? And like, maybe what will Payne still do? Like, I'm curious to see what those evolutions are. Again, like I'm expecting that Fagundes is going to pick up a lot of the slack in the build-up, in that creation. But like Gabriel Peck, like this is him, right? Like this is, like we're talking about Royce because he's a bigger name in like global soccer, right? Or we're talking about all these other players.
Yeah,
like
the most important player on the field tomorrow is Gabriel Peck.
Yeah. So like, I want to see, does he take that on and say, you know, things are going wrong. Give me the ball right now. Like I'm creating this. Like Mickey Imani, now you're going to overlap because I need to get in and get on the ball. Or Royce, go out wide. I don't care. Like,
so here's the thing that I don't know yet.
Okay.
I don't know if that's good or bad. Right? I don't know if Gabriel Peck loses his game because he tries to do too much, or he comes inside and it turns out he could always do this. He just wasn't going to that often because Ricky Pooch has been on the field. And I'm not sure of the answer yet.
Right.
Obviously, him and Greg Vanny would know better than us, but I will be curious to see if he does that, if it hurts or helps the team. And if he elevates and he does that stuff, he's going to win MVP. They're going to win the game. It's going to be incredible. If not, then you sort of get into a like, oh, where does this player stand? Is he truly just a winger 1v1 demon? Yep. Obviously, he comes inside and scores goals, but all that's playing off of Ricky Pooch and all that. That'll be really interesting to watch.
So for me, and with Peck as well, and one more kind of, you know, Gabriel Peck is awesome bit. He, like, we're kind of already speculating, you know, how much could he be sold for? Who's looking at him like, I was talking to a couple of people at the Galaxy, and like, it's not like they're thinking some move. It's like, dude, it's when, not if, right? Like, we want him to, like, when we signed him, we knew that he had the potential to be a really special player, and it's like, I know that they would rather have him for longer. Who knows what? Like, if a $25 million offer comes, that's not out of line. That's not out of the question.
Yeah,
maybe not this winter, but like, not too far in the distant future. Like, this is a guy that. I don't think that, and I'm bringing this up because we know he's good. We know that he's destined for Europe. This is a league record-breaking type of player, and I don't think that he's being correctly viewed as that quite yet. That's a $25 million player. Like this isn't a, again, 15 would be an awesome sale just in general. This guy should be viewed the way that we were talking about Thiago Almada.
Yeah.
Like this is what we should be talking about.
What's interesting is I think back to Tati a lot with him because Tati had put up numbers and was young and whatever, but
Tati took longer, man.
It took longer because I think no one really knew
They played him as a winger.
no one knew exactly what was going to be his future.
Yeah.
Where Peck, he's a specialist, and I think the belief that he could do the thing he does anywhere. Obviously, there's levels to that, but like exactly what you're getting.
Bars, bro.
And I think that's going to be a really easy way to go from there. Wow, that was a great line.
Good transition.
Bro, I'm so deep right now because I'm in LA. I'm like feeling the marine layer on my skin.
Life is like lifestyle.
Yeah. Let's talk about the two clubs' big picture here on what this would mean. And then I'm going to have us do our picks last so that Eric doesn't kick us out if we don't pick Metro Stars / Red Bulls. I'm going to do that as the last thing we do just to keep us safe.
Just in life in general or just podcast?
In the studio. Yeah, either way.
Could get hit by a meter tomorrow.
Tom, always really getting me leveled, getting me settled on all of that. Let's talk big picture about the Red Bulls. Let's start with they made the run late. So this is not a team that's like the Galaxy where like the year was a reset. The reset is like the last 5 weeks. I think Sandro Schwartz is a big part of like what is their future. 3 homegrowns on the field against Orlando, massive. Emil Forsberg will be here for a little bit at least. Like let's say 2024 is this inflection point. Looking back, what do you think the next few years will look like for the Red Bulls?
Yeah, that's really interesting. So that's the nature of playoffs is that this was overall pretty average team in MLS for much of the season. Again, like I think that they are showing more of what they should have been. But it's really easy to like pull out a couple Jenga pieces and it all falls down. One, Emil Forsberg, you pulled that out, that's it. If it's John Tolkien out and somebody out, like another starter, that's it. If it's Lewis Morgan, like the margins are too thin for the Red Bulls. And again, I don't want to be raining on the parade of how awesome this playoff run has been because it is awesome. But the question is based on future predictability.
Yeah.
This is not a sustainable run. Like, this is an awesome run, and all that matters is if they win the trophy and if they miss the playoff next year, who cares? You won MLS Cup. Nothing matters. But my worry is this isn't a sustainable way to win games, continue playing. What I hope is that ownership, Red Bull Global, says, oh, shit, Emil Forsberg, really good player, and we can sign really good players. Yeah. We can sign adult, real-life star players.
Right.
And look at what Emil Forsberg did. We got to MLS Cup. Maybe we should do that again.
Yeah.
That's what I hope. My fear is that that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
I think that they have a lot of good players. I think that they have a lot of good things moving forward. But like, Gass, tell me right now, if they lose that, let's say they lose MLS Cup, and sorry to the Red Bull fans in the room and the Red Bulls fans listening, you're not going to like this hypothetical. Say they lose MLS Cup. Would you be surprised if they miss the playoffs next year?
No.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's a fun story. It's an awesome story.
Because everyone makes the plaplayoffs, so that
that's awesome. So they finish 7th again, and then they lose to Columbus. So they lose to Cincinnati.
They'd have to play in the Mexican second division to not make the playoffs next year. But besides that, yes, you wouldn't be surprised. And I'd say Sandro Schwartz in his conversations today, he sounded like he wants to have more of the ball. He wants to be the team they were the first half of the year, which was a top 4 or 5 team.
Yes.
But he clearly, too much of that is reliant on Emil Forsberg. So I think the hope is that, as you said, for Red Bull Global, it's like not winning for 15 years has not inspired them to spend it in crazy number. So maybe winning will. Maybe that's the change.
Again, that's the optimistic view, and I hope so.
Yeah. Either way, I think this is a club, at least, you'll have this run to sort of reference to and push to for the long term. I think Sandro Schwartz is a special coach. He's going to be a huge part of this project.
Yes, he is.
I think listen, this is me in my nerd space. They brought Audrey Mehmeti and a bunch of U16 kids to MLS Cup to train with them.
Did somebody report that Audrey Mehmeti signed a contract?
Did someone?
Yes.
Was it in our Discord?
First sources, Audrey Mehmeti signed his homegrown contract directly to the first team, doesn't start with the second team. But sorry, go on.
He's the best prospect through their academy since Tyler Adams. I've said that a couple times. Yep. He's the best 6 prospect, I think, in the country with some of the pieces out of LAFC, actually. And I think, though, like they still have that DNA, right? They are in MLS Cup, still looking towards the future and what the club's going to be. But now they've seen, if we fuse it the right way, how it can work. And the hope is that that's the future for this Red Bull team. And maybe NYCFC, again, putting a shovel in the ground pushes them a little bit harder. And they have this to go off of. The 2,000-plus fans, which Tom Bogert reported, scooped. That's a really cool story. And like that's hopefully something
Yes.
for them to be like, our fans want this. Our fans care. We're engaged. We could be a part of this. Let's talk LA Galaxy. Oh, wait, before we say that, if Red Bulls win, is That So Metro dead?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. What about you?
Or does That So Metro get flipped and become
A positive?
7 seed wins the MLS Cup?
I think that there's
That's
too
so
much
Metro.
history of that. So like you can try to rebrand that as much as you can. I don't think that you're going to be able to do that. I think you retire that one. You find a new rallying cry. You said the Emil Forsberg. Fuck it. Why not us? That's what you do.
I didn't realize that just because we were in LA, we just like are unedited completely.
I'm just with friends right now. This isn't even being recorded. We're talking to microphones.
We are in
This
LA.
is what I'm normally like. I just talk too much.
We're in LA where I would like it to be said that Landy Cakes got flipped from this is why Landon Donovan's not good to like an endearing nickname. And I think That's So Metro can be the same. So I'm going to keep it when they win and be like, That's So Metro means you make playoff runs and you win MLS.
I don't think it's going to work, but did I offend you by cursing? I want to say I apologize.
Yeah. It was cussing.
I'm very sorry.
You offended my sweet Long Island heart with your cussing. Let's talk Galaxy. Is this their city again? Are they back? Like, what does all of this mean for them, big picture?
Well, the first one, is this their city again? I think that it's always going to be a back and forth LFC, and I think that's really awesome. Are they back? Yes. I think that they're back even if they lose because what they've done this year, this is sustainable. This is, oh my God, like what the front office has done, what the coaching staff has done, what the profiles that they want to do, what the tactical game model is, all of these things, what the money is being spent, the ages of the players, the likelihood that the Galaxy can, if they want to, go for either, LAFC are trying to sign or Griezmann, right? Like they could do a Griezmann or they could do a Gabriel Peck, right? Like, so I think that they're back no matter what because the playoffs are fickle. Trophies are all that matters at the end of the day, and we'll do revisionist history no matter what and say, yeah, I saw that coming for sure or not, right? Like, but I think that they're back because I'm not like rings guy. Yeah. Like we do it for trophies, but
well, you're a Yankee fan, so 27 rings, bro.
It's out of your some things are out of your control. Like you do need some luck in playoff runs. Yeah. You do. It's just a fact, right? So I don't think that it's binary of did you win MLS Cup? Are you back? Yes or no, right? Like I think that what they've done this season and the likelihood that this continues, yes, they're back.
Will Kuntz, one of the best executives in the league. He will be here. He put a lot of this together. Greg Vanney, one of the best coaches in the league.
Yeah.
He will be here. As you said, this isn't just new. This is sustainable. It's sustainable if pieces move. Greg Vanney, talking to him today and like thinking back to his TFC teams, he's been flexible. He's played in different ways. He gets pieces to fit together because he understands that it's not about his system the most. It's about the talent fitting together. All of that stuff is the type of stuff where Gabriel Peck goes for $25 million. The next player doesn't come in immediately. The next player doesn't hit immediately. Yeah, they're not going to win MLS Cup every year, but they're going to be competitive every single year. And that isn't where they've been over the last 10 years. So that alone is a step back up. And wherever LAFC sits and all of that, you now have that good rivalry of like, we're going to consistently meet in games where we're fighting for playoff spots or in the postseason. And that's, as you said, I think that's healthy. That's the reality they need. I think this year is a big year for them to now like own this spotlight by themselves. Jalen Neal said like, everyone always likes the new fun toy. But I think for him, a Galaxy lifer being from here and playing in the academy and coming up through it, they feel the like, we have reemerged. We are not second fiddle. Like what we do is equal to what they do or better. And there's so much sustainable stuff in this that's exciting. And there's so much stuff that's like so LA, the way they play. Right?
Hollywood, man.
This is what everyone's always like, oh, the Galaxy, they're the Barcelona. And it's like, well, they never really played that way. They just were good, and that's all we knew. And now they are that team. And like in the biggest market, in the biggest city, you're going to play the best soccer. You're going to be a party. You're going to be fun to watch. It's what people want to go to. Credit to the fans, right, who pushed Chris Klein out and like gave up their own seats and didn't go to games and all of that to now get like the biggest treat. It's actually what Columbus fans got as well. Of like, you went through the worst stuff, you fought through it, and now you get the biggest reward, which is like you are the best show in town, and you get to go and enjoy it every week.
My view on fandom, you have to go through the struggles to really, really enjoy it. Like, I mean that genuinely. This isn't even like a joke or a bit. Like that is fandom. Like that. I love that. Like, so you can feel man, I sat through what was it, Michael Ciani? That was the TAM center back that they signed without scouting. And he came in and he was bad. I went through that. They signed Douglas Costa and said before Gabriel Peck and Joseph Payne. So I was here for Chris Klein and Jovan Karofsky and before, then Will Kuntz. Like, I think all that's awesome. And I think all that comes in cycles. And that's what really, like, you forge your fandom in those days. Like, not to do the, like, fair weather fan stuff, but, like, you earn that. You earn, like, you go down when the team goes down, and then when you come back up, it's so sweet. It's so good.
It's two clubs similarly in that also everyone had an off-ramp, which was LAFC and NYCFC for both these fan bases. And both those teams have won MLS Cup since Red Bulls never, and Galaxy have since won it. And so for the fans that stuck around, I think it's going to be really special. It's going to be a really cool day. I talked to both clubs off the record a little, so no scoop there, about what celebrations would look like afterwards. And like, I think they're both really excited for the idea of like being able to do that for their fans and having their event and whatever it is. It is not going to be the Atlanta, Seattle, Portland parades, which I think were really special moments for MLS, Toronto as well. And that's kind of part of the conversation with this MLS Cup is like where the reality of where these clubs sit. You know, they are relevant in their markets. They don't dominate their markets like other teams do, but their markets are also bigger.
Yeah, there's so many things.
But I think for LA as a city to have the Galaxy come back into it is going to be at a high level, is going to be huge. And the Galaxy, on a lot of the stuff, to their credit, they've done things the right way, like away from the field, even when they've been bad. Of like their in-game experience, the stadium, the training, the academy, like all these things that they've done well. And so I think they're prepared to like win. It's not going to hit them and surprise them. Like they're built for this and they're going to be big. All right. You want to do a couple scoops before we pop out?
Let's do it.
Just, I don't know, just throw them at me.
Yeah, I've got to remember them all.
Whoa.
So we'll start, I think the bigger one, no, that's just me being scatterbrained, walking between press conferences and media availabilities, calling people and just saying nonsense.
Do you have the Venetia scoop? Because I had that.
No, you had that. Yeah. That was yours. Yeah. That's bigger than anything I'm going to say. That's bigger than anything I'm going to say. So Brandon Vazquez. San Jose Earthquakes are in preliminary talks with Monterrey about bringing the U.S. international forward back to MLS. This would not be a cheap deal. He was signed by Monterrey for around $7.5–8.5 million, depending on add-ons and bonuses. It would cost something in that region to get him back, to get him out of Monterrey. It's not like Monterrey are looking to get him out.
Yeah.
It's just a huge club that spends a lot of money, has a lot of different attacking talent. So if a fair offer comes in, and Brandon Vazquez would be open to coming back to MLS, as far as I understand. Again, this is preliminary. Nothing is close. Nothing will get advanced until Monterrey's season ends. They're in the Liga MX playoffs.
Semifinals.
There's a semifinals. Yeah. This weekend is leg 2. So this could pick up in a few days, or it'll wait for a little while.
That's a Club World Cup team, by the way.
That is. It is Club World Cup.
Yeah. So you could go to Auckland City and still play
you could do that instead. I wonder if they could match the wages. I'm not entirely sure.
But it's like lifestyle stuff, so you know.
But I will stress, this is not the only MLS team seriously looking to bring Brandon Vazquez back to MLS. And that is something that has been bubbling up for a little bit. Like, you know, hey, like if a team needs a striker, like why wouldn't they go for Brandon Vazquez, right? Like, so that makes a lot of sense.
Like a team that bought out their striker, didn't have an option this season, was looking to make an MLS Cup run and needed to fill the spot.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and they had, with $16 million to spend.
Just checking.
So what I was told as well, again, like, so there's going to be a few teams and we'll see what happens. Yeah. But this is a real thing to be following over the next few weeks.
I don't hate it. I don't love it for San Jose as much as I think I would if you said a different team, because I think there's still chance creation away.
Christian Espinoza.
I don't disagree with you.
Sorry, they have all 3 DP spots filled. Obviously, this would be a designated player deal. So Carlos Greza would be the person leaving, and I don't know if that's 100%. I don't know. Like, so I was asking around about that. It was just like, I don't know. Like, then it was to another report, another news that I broke of. They traded for Mark Anthony Kaye and Ian Harkes.
Yeah, right.
Sounds like people who might play Carlos Greza's spot, right? Yeah. Like, so that would be the obvious.
And Greza was Lucci's guy coming from Dallas.
Exactly. And he was 2 club record signings ago. So he was a club record signing, $3 million. and then Hernan Lozada. And if they sign Brandon Vazquez, it's going to be more than $6 million. So anyway, you said you don't love this as much for San Jose.
Just because I think there are other teams where if it's the last piece, you're like, okay, let's go win MLS Cup.
Yeah.
Brandon Vazquez, as good as he's been, was never you had so much money spent on the Cincinnati roster. There was not the pressure on him. He wasn't like the individual piece where that would sort of be the case along with Espinoza and them. But it's Bruce once again being like, I trust what I've seen before. I trust what I like. And he has said many times it's not going to happen in 1 year. So it's going to take a couple of years for them. So they have to get that jump. Okay, what else?
Nimfasha Berkimas, the Charlotte FC U.S. Youth International. Thank you. I tried to go with confidence after I made fun of you before. The U.S. International standout, 16-year-old, is going to train with Manchester United. He's going to be there to see the coaches, again, get to play, get to see the environment. This kid, when we talk about youth players, we talk a lot about Calvin Sullivan for obvious reasons. Nimfasha's right there, man. Like, he was the youngest American to play at a U17 World Cup.
And
He's
he was the best
15 years
player on
old.
the
He's the best
team.
player on the team.
Yeah.
3 goals in that tournament last year. He made his MLS debut this season at 15. At the time, he was the 9th youngest player in league history to make his debut. I've been hearing, like, again, you know more about the youth scene than I have. I've been hearing about him for a couple years and like, yo, this dude's real. There's people in Charlotte that are like, hey, if he stays here for a long time, like, we're talking about league record transfers, it's like this kid is good enough for that kind of thing. So he's trained with Bayern Munich before. Bayern still love him. Now he's going to Manchester United. Like, these are the clubs that are in for this player, and we need to be talking about him as one of the premier youth talents in this country.
It's exciting, and it's also the reason Charlotte was created, right? Soccer-rich area
For
players
Nivasha.
like this. Well, like for players that come out of North Carolina, where it's like all these pro players have always come out of there. Can you get a pro club that can help bring them through? Anything else?
I'm not even kidding. I'm going to my Twitter account to make sure I didn't forget anything.
This is good radio. This is what we came for.
Oh, Santiago Sosa transferred to Racing Club in Argentina.
Wait, Atlanta United legend Santiago
Yes.
Sosa?
Guess what the fee is because you haven't seen it.
I don't know, $150,000.
$4 million
Stop.
plus $2 million, $2.5 million
For a guy
add-ons,
they paid to not play for them?
plus 25% sell on. He's a good player. I thought the Racing Club were going to get a much better deal than they did.
Ooh, Garth Lagerway. Might
Cooking.
be a good guy to
Cooking. Opens up a U22 initiative spot and everything. And then one more, Chris McVeigh. San Diego FC traded for his right.
You just feel that
This is where we're going to
earthquake?
close the show on.
Chris McVeigh, superstar.
Yeah, so that and Audrey Mametti that we talked about before signed a homegrown contract.
Legendary. Okay, we're going to be back on Monday.
That's what I got.
It is a half trade window.
that enough for you?
Tom's going to be scooping and scooping and scooping while I just kind of hang out and like not that stressed about it. So it's going to be a good day for me and a bad day for you, which I'm excited about. Thank you once again for hosting us here at Starting 11, the best.
This is an incredible studio. I hope that you get to see the pictures and videos and stuff. This is awesome. Right in Venice Beach. If I'm allowed to
And
say that. I hope
shout
I'm
out
allowed
to
say
the
that.
Marine Layer. Closing out on this. Who's going to win MLS Cup?
I'm gonna go LA Galaxy.
Ooh, and on that note, we are finished here
Whoa,
at
whoa, 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 whoa.
Soccerwise. Thank you all for
Whoa, whoa,
watching.
whoa, whoa,
Thank you
whoa,
all
give me
for
a team.
listening. And we'll talk to you all
Come
again
on.
very, very soon. I don't have to.
Oh my God.
Post privilege.
Soft.
Post privileges. All right, thank you.